And so I think one thing that happens as children get older that I think we do very well in the early childhood classroom that tends to go away is that observation and really trying to meet the children where they are and wanting to learn the kind of learners they are, what their interests are. And we adjust, we in a lot of early childhood classrooms, in the classroom certainly that I was in, we did a semi-emergent curriculum where we had a curriculum in place, but we also had the freedom to go with interests that we saw within the classroom. Because as we all know, when you're interested in something, that drives a whole nother level of learning. You're that much more motivated. And, there's not as much pushing because it's something that is drawing the children in. And I think at an early childhood age, we do that very well because we understand it's a key component in the classroom. And so I think we allow kind of that right amount of like stepping back and giving them materials to interact with and kind of guide sort of those skills that we are wanting them to develop that will develop. Also just that enough observation to see, this is how I can then tailor these materials even more to reach this particular group of learners or to bring in something that's really going to draw them in even more. And I can extend this and bring in even more with this. But I think when we start to look at, but my child has to be here, or we're wanting to get into certain schools and these grades, and we push and we try to kind of force that, that's where we can overly do it. And I think where we overly are stepping right now is in the young age, in the early childhood, and it's coming too soon where we're trying to put in a whole lot more structure and guidance. And as I said, give them things that they are not ready for, that are not developmentally appropriate. And then we're getting these frustrated students and learners who are not enjoying learning so much. And, but there's a balance as well. With that, there are some programs that it's a very like hands-off, free structured, and it's just play. We're just going to give you materials and you do what you want with it. There is also extremely valuable learning within that. And a lot of times in school, because we're so geared towards getting certain things and meeting certain milestones and standards, we tend to overly structure, I think, the classroom and the school day, where it's like instruction. We got to get this material. We got to get these. But then we don't step back and allow them just time to integrate the learning and the processes to really, really understand the concepts. It's not meaningful learning, and then we lose a lot of learners, and that overly structured system and one way of doing it, that standardized way, is where I think we are doing a lot of our students harm. And even within play, it's again finding that that battle right now is, I think, how much do we guide it? How much do we structure it? And how much do we let it be just play? And that is, I think, very much the common and constant debate in the early childhood world right now is what's more valuable and what should we be doing more of? And I personally believe that there needs to be a balance. And just like I think that you have a classroom full of children that learn in different ways. And so the best thing is to provide a number of different ways and mediums and materials for them to engage with and interact and find the way in which they learn best and which they enjoy learning. And that is what sets them up for success. And then when we start to then really guide too much, what we're doing also is not giving them that ability to figure out how they learn, how their brain works best, how they learn best. We're telling them, this is how you have to do it. This is the way we want you to do it. And for some, it's going to be super successful and they're going to get it and they're going to thrive on it. But for others, that's where we're going to see that resistance and that like just sort of in disengagement and not wanting to care about learning because they don't feel successful. And we're saying that there's this one way to do it and that's the way you have to do it. And if you're not able to do it, then you're not a good student. You're not a good learner. And then, that impacts, again, as you mentioned, then self-confidence. And then it just becomes this kind of vicious cycle. And you have more and more things to battle where then it gets harder and harder to make up those gaps and try to then allow them to then figure out what it is that how they learn best. Because you've had all this time where it's just been kind of forced onto them and they've kind of been forced into one way of doing things and it's not successful for them necessarily.